Hello guys. So today I'm going to be walking you through yesterday's project, and that was building a leap year calculator with everything that we looked at up to yesterday's class. That is conditional statements uh, and primitive data types. Yeah, so you need the knowledge of the two previous classes to tackle this project. Yeah, so I'm going to create a walkthrough, and this is part of the daily walkthroughs that we'll be doing for this class. Yeah, so I'll be giving daily projects whereby you work on them, and then I'll also give a walkthrough for each project so that you can gauge whether you are able to understand the project and implement the solution. Yeah, so today we start with the leap year calculator project, and we are going to use that. We're going to use replit. So I'm going to replit and create a new replit. Python replit. I'm going to call it leap year calculator. And we create. Yeah, so we have our replit ready. Okay, I also went ahead and created a flowchart for you for that project, and here it is, the flowchart. So first of all, remember in the instructions here, you're saying that a leap year is divisible by 4, except every year that is divisible by 100, unless the year is divisible by 400. So we start our flowchart by checking whether the year that the user inputs, or the year that you want to check for, is divisible by 4. If it's not divisible by 4, then that is not a leap year. But if it's divisible by 4, that if divisible by 4 is yes, then we're going to check whether the year is divisible by 100. Yeah, and if it's divisible by 100, if it's not divisible by 100, sorry, then that is a leap year. Yeah, but if it is divisible by 100, remember in the instructions you're saying that unless, if it's divisible by 100, then it's not a leap year unless the year is evenly divisible by 400. Okay, so here in our flowchart, if we check whether the year is divisible by 100 and find that it's not divisible by 100, then that is a leap year, unless if it's divisible by 100 now, we're going to check whether that year is divisible by 400. And if it's not divisible by 400, then that means it's not a leap year. But if it's divisible by 400, then it is a leap year. Yeah, so have a look at this flowchart and pause this recording and try to implement the project using this flowchart. Before you even you even go through the code itself, just try and work these project using these flowcharts. Yeah, this flowchart should guide you on the logic and the control flow of the project. Go ahead and pause the video and then try and work on the project using the flowchart. Okay, so now if you are able to work with the flowchart, and maybe you're here only to now you're here to only check whether your implementation was right, then good for you. But if you're not able to do that, then you can follow along the walkthrough, and we're going to go through the logic of that project. Okay, so you go back to Replit. So we're going to fetch the year, and we're going to do that using the input function. So I'm going to say year is equals to input. And then the input will be enter the year you want to check. Check, not check. Like that. And since the input function returns an integer, or whatever the user inputs in the console will be returned as an integer, we need to cast that. Sorry, it will be returned as a string, sorry. So we need to cast it into an integer so that we can perform comparisons using the comparison operators. Yeah, so we're going to cast this into an integer using the int method. Okay. Now, once we get hold of the year, we want to first check whether that year is divisible by 4. Yeah, so we're going to say if year modulo 4. Remember, the modulo returns the remainder of division. So it will take the year, divide by 4, then return the remainder. If the year is perfectly divisible by 4, then the modulo operator returns 0. If we're going to say if year modulo 4 is equals to 0, that means the year is divisible, is cleanly divisible by 4. What do? Go back, we go to our flow chart, and if it's divisible by 4, then we're going to check whether it's divisible by 100. Yeah, but first let's add a condition of what happens if the year that the user inputs is not divisible by 4. We're going to say else and you can have a variable here that's called is leap year. And we are going to set it to false to start with. Yeah. So if it's not divisible by 4, then that automatically makes it not a leap year. Is leap year is false. Yeah, but now inside the if block here, we are going again to nest now this if statement and check whether the year is now divisible by 100. So we're going to say if year modulo 100 is equals to 0. So if it's perfectly divisible by 100, that means there's no remainder. Then we are going to further check whether it's divisible by 400. Yeah, but if this condition fails, then we are going to say else is leap year. We're going to change is leap year to true, because remember here in our flowchart, we're saying that if it's not divisible by 100, then it's a leap year. Yeah, but if it's not divisible by 100, keyword being not, then it's a leap year. Yeah, but if it's divisible by 100, then we need to check to go further and check whether it's also divisible by 400. Yeah, so here where it's divisible by 0, we're also going to have another if statement where, sorry, in this statement where the year is divisible by 100, we're going to further test whether the year is divisible by 400. And if it's divisible by 400, then is leap year will be true, because now this is a leap year. From our flow chart here, if it's divisible by 400, then it's a leap year. And if it's not divisible by 400, then is leap year is equals to false. Okay. And now based on this if block here, whatever this if block returns in the is leap year variable, then we're going to test that here and say if is leap year, so whether it's true or false, we're going to print the year going to say year is a leap year. That is if the is leap variable has been set to true inside this block here, this if block here at the top. Else, if the is leap year is false, then we're going to say else. We're going to print out our year and we're going to say that year is not a leap year. Okay. And now if we run our code, let's run our code and test. So enter the year you want to check. We're going to enter year 2000. But the output that we get or the response that we get is 2000 is a leap year. We test for another year, let's say 2100, then 2100 is not a leap year because one of these conditions here has failed, which is this one here. Yeah, 2100 is divisible by 100, but it's not divisible by 400. So this first condition here fails, and that's why is leap is being set to false. Okay, we check for another year, let's say 1994, then it's not a leap year. 1990, it's not a leap year, but 1992 should be a leap year. Sorry, run this. 1992. 1992 is a leap year. Okay, so that's it, guys, for this walkthrough. So make sure you try and solve that problem by first looking at the flowchart, and then if you get stuck, you can go ahead and look at the rest of the walkthrough. Yeah. So that's it for this project. And for today's project, we have a second project, automatic pizza order program. And here are the instructions. So the instructions, you get them from the GitHub page, GitHub repository. and you go to yesterday's class, and then at the very bottom of yesterday's notebook, we have project number 2, and you have your instructions, and based on the user input, work out the final pizza bill. So the small pizza goes for $15, medium pizza goes for $20, large pizza goes for $25. And then we have the pizza toppings, which is basically pepperoni. So if you want pepperoni for the small pizza, then you have to pay an extra $2. If you want pepperoni for the medium or large pizza, then you have to part with an extra $3. And if you want extra cheese of any size, for any size of the pizza, then you need to part with an extra $1. Yeah. So your program should be like this. First, your program should ask the user what size of the pizza they want. If it's medium, you set the price to 15. If it's small, you set that its price is $15. If it's medium, the price is $20. If it's large, the price is $25. And then your program also, after the users entered the pizza size that they want, then it will also ask them, do you want pepperoni? And that is a yes or no answer. So if their answer is yes, then you pick the size of the pizza that they entered, and then you add pepperoni, the pepperoni price for that pizza size. Yeah. Remember, the pepperoni here is specific to the sizes. Yeah. So if they chose 5.15, they chose the small pizza, then the pepperoni price is $2. But if they chose the medium or large, the pepperoni is $3. Yeah. And then the third question is, do you want extra cheese? And it's also a yes or no answer. So if they want extra cheese, then it should add $1 to the previous bill, the pizza price and the pepperoni. If they said they wanted pepperoni, then if they also want extra cheese, you should add that $1 to the previous sum. Okay, so have a look at that question. Maybe you can even draw up your own flowchart of how you can implement this project. Yeah, so this project is just going to test your understanding of if statements, and if you're beginning to understand how to break down a problem. Yeah, because in programming, most of the time, you break down a big problem into smaller chunks that you can solve easily. Yeah, and then build those smaller chunks together to form the bigger project. Yeah, so you need to be able to first understand the problem, then break it down, and then implement the project in small bits that you broke it down into. So have a look at the project, and then tomorrow we're going to have a walkthrough for this second project. Yeah, okay. So have a good one and good luck. Bye bye.